This episode of The Dog Show features Gabrielle Schillinger. Gabrielle is the co-founder of Little Homie Apparel, a lifestyle dog brand that donates a portion of its proceeds to dog shelters and rescue organisations. Gabrielle is also the proud owner of a Chihuahua named Chip and a French Bulldog named Donnie. In the interview, we discuss the many different sides of the French Bulldog personality that have inspired the creative designs of Little Homie Apparel. So Gabrielle, thanks so much for coming on the Dog Show today.
Thanks, Will. I'm so excited to just spend time talking solely about dogs. It's like a dream.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what the show's all about, and that's what I've dedicated my life to, so I'm happy that you're feeling the same. I want to start by hearing a little bit about your dogs. So you've got Chip the Chihuahua and Donnie the Frenchie. Do you want to tell me a bit more about them and their personalities?
Of course. So Chip the Chihuahua and Donnie the Frenchie, we've actually coined them as being the odd couple. They are quintessential Chihuahua and French Bulldogs. So Chip's a bit older than Donnie. We joke that he's an old man. He is pushing 9.5, and Donnie's a younger pup. He's about 4. And true to a Chihuahua breed, I would say Chip is like as territorial and as protective as they come. And true to a French Bulldog breed, I swear we could give Donnie to a stranger and he would happily go live a life. So, they have super funny, quirky personalities that often result in us kind of being in a state of conflict. They both want and gravitate towards very different things, but they bring a lot of joy and entertainment to our lives.
How do they get along together?
It's funny. So I have to say, when Chip and Donnie first met each other, Chip hated French Bulldogs. Like a Frenchie and a smush face pup, he was like, absolutely not. Take me the other direction. And he was forced to coexist with Donnie. And after a few months, the two of them, they are best buds. Like they wrestle together, they cuddle together. If one of them leaves the home for some reason without the other one sits by the front door. So as much as they are an odd couple, they've really become best friends.
That's cool. Yeah. I'm not sure if Donnie's the same, but my experience with French Bulldogs, because I have a French Bulldog Frankie, is they're pretty annoying, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
Like towards other dogs, I mean, like they won't leave them alone. They want to play all the time, especially when they're puppies. So I can imagine that there would have been some tension there to start with.
That's so funny you call them annoying. I would have to agree. When we met Donnie, he was about 6 months old. And to your point, it was just like nonstop pestering. And Chip, being an older pup and being a rescue dog, he just didn't have patience for it. So Donnie learned quickly how to kind of navigate. And I'd have to say Chip controls the house. So Chip sets the tone for whether or not we're playing, whether or not we're happy, mad, protective. So it's a funny dynamic.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, Sorry, say again.
So sorry, Will. So sorry.
That's right.
Tell me a little bit about Frankie. What color is your Frenchie?
Frankie is brindle, so she's predominantly like a black looking color, but she has some strokes of kind of tiger through there. And she's 4 years old now. She's, I love everything about Frankie. Actually, I don't know how else you can describe her, but when I say annoying, I guess she's. I say that in an endearing way. I mean, she just wants attention all the time from everyone that's around. Like we go to the dog park and she'll run to every other owner in the park and try to get them to pat her,
I do know that a little all too well. Donnie, actually, his nickname is Donnie FOMO because he has a complete fear of missing out on anything. Whether it's like a human playing, another dog playing. I don't know if Frankie's the same way. Has she spent much time like in a home with other dogs, or does she sort of live that independent life?
No, she's quite independent, but she's very reliant on my wife and I. I guess whenever we're doing anything, she needs to be there. Like we'll literally walk into the other room and she'll get up from her bed and walk and sit in that room. So we have beds around the house now, so she feels comfortable everywhere she goes. She spent a lot of time with children when she was young, and so she's really good with children, and she loves being around children, but less so with dogs. So we've had to socialize her more when we get the opportunity. But we don't have any other dogs at home, so it's been hard sometimes. But
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up children. Chip, he has not been good around children. So from what I know, I rescued him when he was about 4.5, and I believe he came from a home with small children. So I have no idea what happened in his past life. Donnie, on the other hand, though, mentioning in a constant state of conflict, we live in a pretty busy neighborhood, and there's a couple of daycares or schools around. So when we're walking the dogs, Donnie is obsessed with children. I swear he thinks they're like another form of creature that he was destined to play with. And so, especially during this time of quarantine and lockdown, there hasn't been a lot of interaction, and Donnie's really been feeling it. So one day, there was a group of kids outside, and I swear he planted himself, as French bulldogs often do, refusing to move, and locked eyes with a couple of the kids and would not leave until they gave him some sort of interaction or playtime. And it's just so funny because they're just such sweet-natured dogs. Like, I never thought about a Frenchie before I met Donnie, and now it's hard to imagine not having that type of personality around every day.
yeah, I find, and I'm not sure if this is the same with all Frenchies, but Frankie's very protective of children as well. Like my nephews, if she hears them crying in the other room or so, she when she was younger, she used to go to my nephew's room, who she could hear crying, and like sit outside the room just to make sure they were doing okay. It was so cute, but
It is so cute. It's like a little nanny that you have at home.
Yeah, cool. So would you say you have a favorite breed? It sounds like you just love dogs in general, but
I do. I am definitely that person that will stop mid-sentence. If I see a dog across the street, I stop, I stare, I like make up stories about it. I am for sure a dog lover, all breeds. That said, I have a really soft spot for Australian Shepherds.
okay.
Aussies are, I don't know what it is. I think they're beautiful. I think they're smart. I think they're lovable. They're super loyal. And I did have one at one point growing up. So that one just sits with me. What about you? Do you have a favorite outside of Frenchies, or is it safe to say Frenchies inevitably is it for you?
Yeah, I think it's hard to go past Frenchies for me. I do love all dogs, but yeah, French Bulldogs have a special place in my heart. But it's funny you say Australian Shepherds because, and I don't know 100% if this is the truth. I was reading something about Australian Shepherds. They're not actually from Australia. I think they're from somewhere else.
I didn't know that.
They're just called Australian Shepherds. There's some weird fact like that. I don't want to guarantee it on in the interview right now. But yeah, for some reason I think they're actually not from Australia. Anyway, that's that.
No, that's interesting.
I'll fact
now
check
I'm
that
definitely
another
going
time.
to go down the rabbit hole of Google and try to figure out where Australian Shepherds are derived from.
Yeah. Okay, so what made you? I mean, obviously, it's probably going to be a straightforward answer, but what made you get into a dog apparel brand? So you've got a couple of apparel brands. One of them is called Little Homie Apparel, which is all about predominantly Frenchies actually, but there's it's a dog apparel brand which is doing some great stuff with shelters, and you've also got some cool products. So what made you get into this industry?
Sure. It does seem pretty straightforward. We love dogs. We obviously love Frenchies. Why not create an apparel brand? But at the end of the day, for me personally, I have a huge passion for animals and dogs. Mike, our other co-founder, my other half, he's very much into fitness and very much into his little homie Donnie. So for us, when we're not at our day jobs, we're really hanging out with our two pups. We're at the gym, we're doing some sort of physical exercise, and we're just hanging out in streetwear and loungewear. So at the end of the day, like, why not create a brand that brings a little bit of joy and fun to your life? Frenchies have so much personality, so it was really natural for us to start with French Bulldog logos, French Bulldog taglines. I have to say, it definitely created a bit of conflict at home, seeing as I have a Chihuahua and Mike has a French Bulldog. But I'm still holding strong that one day we will get those Chihuahua taglines. French Bulldogs are just so easy. Like, they're fun and they give you a lot of material to work with.
Yeah, that's the one thing that really drew me to your brand is because I mean, for those people that don't know, you've got this range of quirky French Bulldog logos, which, you know, are used on all of your apparel and your bags and all that kind of stuff. But each of them has a bit of a story. It's almost like the many faces or the many personalities of the French Bulldog. That's the way I interpreted it, and it just resonated with me as a French Bulldog owner because, they like my Frenchie Frankie has like thousands of different personalities that come out, you know, all in one day. You know, she's happy, she's sad, she's, you know, cute. Yeah, it's crazy to think. But I want to hear some of the background story of some of the you know, some of the personalities that you're portraying in these logos.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could talk about those forever. To your point, French Bulldogs have so many personalities. And so many facial expressions alone. I swear I must have like thousands of photos of just things that Donnie's doing on a daily basis. So actually one of the logos I have on today, it's our boss mode. I'll stand here.
Just stand up.
Boss mode. It's a Frenchie with sunglasses looking a little bit too cool for everyone. And boss mode. I put that on to motivate myself to work today. But I would have to say the one that we've seen a lot of interest and success with is our King Homie. So King Homie, which I also say Queen Homie, has a crown on, and the tagline is "Have it my way." So Frankie, I'm sure, has her moments where it's Frankie's way or it's the highway. Is that a fair statement? She's pretty stubborn.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. She kind of rules the roost, I guess, is another way to put it.
Yeah, that is another way to put it. So essentially, French Bulldog with a crown, they're very much treated like royalty. They oftentimes, with the right look, the right facial expression, the right begging, get what they want. And so King Homie, Queen Homie, whatever you want to call it, that's a really fun one. But I have to say, Mike, the other brain behind this operation, I have to give him a lot of credit. These logos and these taglines are super funny. And one day he just sat down, kind of locked himself in a room and went to work. And I think it's because for him, he's only ever had French Bulldogs. And so he's only ever known that personality or those many personalities. So for him, it was natural. Like, every day we're finding ourselves entertained by Donnie and the things that Donnie does. That's our French Bulldog, Donnie. And so King Homie was natural. Also, Chillin' Homie. Chillin' Homie makes sense. Like, I'm sure on a daily basis you see Frankie and she's in some crazy pose, just like chilling on the couch, chilling on one of her 18 beds in the house, chilling on a bone, like resting in some crazy position. But I'd have to ask you, like, any of the logos stand out for you? Which one sums up Frankie?
Well, I think I was going to mention Chillin' Homie, but I also love like the kind of almost the split personality of the Frenchies. So you've got Chillin' Homie, and then you've got a few sporty ones in there like Barkman and Air Homie and that kind of stuff. That really epitomizes Frankie for me, because like one minute she's like passed out, like lying in the sun or lying on the, you know, on one of her beds, and like she looks like she's never going to move again. And then the mere mention or tiny movement towards the door or something like that, and she's up and she's ready to go, and she's so energetic. And I think that's one thing that people that have never been around French Bulldogs probably don't know, is they're crazy. Like, the energy levels are really high, even if they might be for short bursts. They're really energetic dogs. So I think those ones for me really resonate.
I love that you mentioned Barkman and Air Homie. Those are really like near and dear to our hearts. So I work in the beauty industry, and obviously side job of mine is Little Homie, and also like volunteering with a lot of dog rescues and shelters. Mike, he's always worked in sports. So basketball and sports is a big passion for his. So being able to combine those two worlds has been really fun. And you're right. Like Donnie, I would say around in between like 8 and 9 p.m. our time, he gets what we call the zoomies. So I'm sure you're quite familiar with the zoomies.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite funny because Chip is terrified of the zoomies. So he will hide under a bar stool. He'll hide under any surface he can find just to escape that crazy burst of French Bulldog energy. So it's super fun to see them. But I don't know. I'm thinking I'm getting inspired. Maybe they'll be, you just mentioned Frankie in a position that looks like she may never get out of it again. I often find Donnie in positions and I say, oh, it's dead Donnie. We have dead Donnie today, which is a little bit morbid, but also I know he's going to wake up. So I don't know. We may be on a second round of logos here after this conversation.
Yeah, I think that's probably that lazy side of the French Bulldogs, maybe just the section which is missing out.
I think you're right. I'd have to call out the namaste and the yoga Frenchie as well. So I'm a big yogi myself, and both of the dogs have become big yogis. But I think most French Bulldog owners could agree that outside of like the one or two downward dog poses that they might do every morning when they wake up, for the most part, the pups are a fan of like a restorative or a yin yoga class. So all about the relaxation. Let me just lay down on the mat while mom gets to work and does whatever she does. I'm just going to lay here and make it as awkward and inconvenient as possible for her.
It's funny you say that because with the lockdown situation, my wife's been doing yoga classes like via Zoom and stuff like that in our living room. And all she wants is for Frankie to be next to her and do like a yoga pose or something. So it like creates this environment. But all Frankie wants to do is just get in the way and go on the mat and try and play with toys and all sorts of stuff like that. So it's quite funny.
It is so funny. I actually I encouraged Mike to practice a certain yoga pose. He's not a yogi by any means. And because it's so rare that he will do yoga or be on a yoga mat, when that happened, Donnie immediately thought it was playtime. So like full on went into wrestle mode. So like climbing on him, like tackling, rolling over, doing anything he could to get that affection and attention that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, I'm probably a little bit rougher with Frankie than what Michelle is, my wife. Sometimes she does like to play those rougher games where she'll kind of nip at you, and obviously never like bites or anything like that. But I think they do crave a bit of that sometimes, and she'll push the barriers as far as you let them go, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they will, and they're so strong. So you really do have to be mindful of it. I don't even think half the time they know what they're capable of doing.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of, I'm not sure if this is a strength thing, but their heads are so hard. Like she runs into things and just doesn't even notice it.
It's so true. We were actually just driving a really long road trip over the weekend. We were driving from Florida all the way back up to New Jersey, and I didn't realize Donnie had hit his head on the car door. So as we were going to close it, he jerked out of the way, and his head was obviously right there. And so we were joking. He was obviously okay. We checked first, but we were joking. We're like, how thick is that head that you can kind of get smacked with a car door and it's like nothing has happened? So they're super resilient, super resilient.
Yeah. One day we were out walking and Frankie tried to take a sharp turn, and there was this guy working in his front yard, putting pavers around this kind of small, like it wasn't a fence, but it was like a small raised thing with pavers. And she knocked one of the pavers off the corner, like ran in with her head and knocked a paver right off the corner. And like this is like a sandstone paver, which is like quite a heavy thing that slid straight off onto the ground.
Right.
And she just kept on going. Like I was like, oh my God, if that happened to me, I'd probably be going to an emergency ward or something.
It's so true. How much does Frankie weigh?
She's quite a small Frenchie. She's only around about 10 kilos, sometimes a little bit below 10, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
How about Donnie?
Yeah, she is quite small. Donnie's the opposite. We say that Donnie is a supersized Frenchie. if you do any quick Google search on, average size of a French Bulldog, it's always, pretty standard. Donnie is a good 36 pounds. And I mean, he's long, he's thick, he's like just a little tank. So most people will stop us and they'll actually ask, they're like, what kind of dog is that? And when I say French Bulldog, they're like, is he a purebred? Like,
Right.
he is. He just never stopped growing. He's huge.
That's a fair point, actually. So I said 10 kilograms. That was just default. I imagine that's 20 odd pounds, 20, maybe 25,
Yes.
around about ish. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Donnie is, roughly 10, 11 pounds larger.
Yeah.
So quite a bit bigger, which granted, he's a male and Frankie's a female, but he is just a big boy.
Yeah. One thing I love about your brand, which is, I mean, I guess I've been in this kind of online French Bulldog space for quite a while now, and one thing I've noticed out there is there's lots of kind of throwaway brands which have printed T-shirts and things like that, and you order them and they come and they're pretty low quality. Like the printing isn't good quality. It's either ironed on or something and it's falling off, or it just doesn't look like it did on the website. And one thing I think I love with your brand is like the quality is really, really up there. So like it's almost surprising when you get the products in the mail that it's the beautiful design actually pops out of the T-shirts and all the other things as well. So that's something that you're doing differently. Yeah.
Thank you, Will. I really appreciate you calling that out. It was really important for us that we didn't compromise quality while also offering like affordable pricing. You're right. We see so many brands that are popping up. I mean, just take a quick scroll on Instagram and look at fitness brands or lifestyle brands, dog T-shirts, and you see such a wide range. And what I will say about Little Homie is it may take a little bit longer for you to receive your product, yet it's because we are using high quality printing and we don't have, a printer in our garage that we're just quickly ironing on or screen printing. So we want to make sure that the quality of the T-shirt is soft, it's durable. I've tested machine washing in many different types of washers and dryers to make sure that printing stays after multiple wears. And I'd have to say that the biggest feedback we've received, we're a fairly new brand. So the best and most consistent feedback we've received is that A, they love the packaging, and B, they love the quality. And that makes me so happy. We spent probably a good year sourcing fabrics and just styles that we thought would work and really represent what we stand for, which is quality, affordability, and then also like donating and giving back.
Yeah, so that's a good lead in. That would have been my next question. So 10% of your proceeds go to dog shelters and rescue organizations. That's a close thing to my heart. So the Dog Book Company, we donate money from every sale to the same cause, obviously different organizations. But what is it about rescue organizations and shelters? Like, why does that have a special place in your heart, and why did you choose those, that path for the business?
Of course. That was actually a non-negotiable for me. So when Mike and I talked about starting a company, for me, first and foremost, we had to align that a portion of proceeds would be donated back. We've been very fortunate in our careers and fortunate enough to even have this opportunity to start a company and to be able to donate back to something that is so near and dear absolutely to my heart. I've only ever had rescue dogs, and I've sort of been blessed with a blended family of a purebred that was purchased from a reputable breeder with my rescue pup. And for me, there are so many dogs that need homes. I mean, I can speak to the U.S. in particular, but every year there is around 7.6 million companion animals, which that includes dogs and cats, that are surrendered or entered into shelters every single year. And out of that, it's roughly like 3.9 million of those animals are dogs. So almost 4 million dogs just in the United States alone don't have homes. And what's really surprising that I think a lot of people don't realize is a lot of these dogs are entered into shelters because their owner surrendered. And that can happen for a lot of reasons. It can be someone who has a French Bulldog and maybe they lose a job, they lose a family member, maybe they can no longer care for health issues that their dog has developed. And so they're left with no choice but to surrender them. It can also be because people haven't taken the proper care to make sure that their dog is safe inside or safe outside in the backyard. And so dogs end up roaming the streets and no owner claims them. So for me, I've seen the blessing and the happiness and the joy that can come to a life, both for the dog and for the human that rescues that dog. So I'm a firm believer in the saying, or the question, who rescued who? So for me, I think there's so much joy that comes from rescuing an animal and giving them a second chance. And I'm just so thrilled that we're able to offer this and able to give back, because shelters have brought a lot of joy and love to my life. And so I'm happy that we can kind of spread that joy and love.
Yeah, and this one of the saddest parts, I think, is there's so many dogs which are euthanized, which don't need to be, can't be placed in a home, and it costs shelters a lot of money to, I guess, rehome a dog. They need to be vaccinated, they need to have all their health checks, and all that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, they need money, and they're all charity-based organizations.
It's so true. And you bring up a good point, Will. It's really sad to think about the dogs that aren't able to find homes, the dogs that aren't able to get that second chance. Unfortunately, it's, I think, roughly like 2.7 million dogs are euthanized or killed every single year in the United States. And it's just simply because shelters are too full or there's not enough adoptable homes for them to go into. And so, to your point, being able to support financially shelters and a lot of like smaller rescue organizations that are doing tremendous work, yet don't have the backing of, say what the Humane Society might have. This is a great way for us to support some of those smaller local shelters.
You're obviously dedicated to a great cause. You got some cool products which are high quality, and they also, epitomize the many personalities of the French Bulldog. Where can listeners find out more about Little Homie Apparel and everything you're doing?
We are on Instagram and Facebook. So the handle is at Little Homie Shop. It's LILHOMIE Shop. And then we also have our website, which is lilhomieapparel.com. And message us, ask questions, engage with us. We want to hear about your Frenchies. Send us photos. We love everything that has to do with dogs. And if you have ideas for taglines, things you want to see, other dog breeds that you may want to see, I know this is a Frenchie community, so that may be, a little bit of a stretch, but we're open to lots of ideas as we're trying to grow.
Cool. That's great. So I'll make sure I put a link to the Facebook and the Instagram page, as well as Little Homie Apparel in the show notes for the show. So Gabrielle, thanks so much for coming on the Dog Show today. It was actually really, really enjoyable speaking with you.
Thanks, Will. You too. I loved being on the Dog Show. So anytime, I'd love to come back and chat dogs and hear all about what Frankie's been up to.
Well, it's enjoyable, isn't it? It's not work, so.
It's not.
No.
All right. Thanks, Will. I hope you have a great day.
You too.